I'm going to remind you to keep this in big picture context. It was Mark Cuban, the day after the Sterling private conversation broke on TMZ, the Monday after when we first talked about it on this show.
Yeah.
Remember? Yes. Mark Cuban was saying slippery slope that we're on here. And I wrote down the quote this morning. I made sure I took it right off his tape. He said, in terms of just saying a blanket, let's kick him out, meaning Donald Sterling, I don't want to go that far because that's more about Donald Sterling and about his position, and it's also about who's next. So Mark is saying that then if you open that Pandora's box on that slippery slope, right, one cliche after another, but you could then hold another person's feet to fire. You could say, this owner said this. Well, wait, this owner has this skeleton in his closet. So he's saying, then we'd have to make a decision on this owner and this owner and this owner. Mm-hmm. And he was making the case that, hey, it was an illegally recorded conversation. So Mark Cuban was the only owner who, even though he did say the comments by Donald Sterling were abhorrent, was the word he used, he said, let's hold off on kicking him out of the league. So now we have that comment along with this comment of some, some objectivity, of step back objectivity of saying, hey, let's all look inside ourselves here. And I don't think our new NBA commissioner is going to love those two comments together from Mark Cuban because it will not help the commissioner's case.
Bottom line is this, Skip Bayless. What Mark Cuban said is entirely different than what Donald Sterling said. And just because people want to try to interpret it as being one and the same, because there are some people who will go there, they're simply going to come across as misinformed. The fact is that when you listened to Donald Sterling and his comments and you juxtapose that to Mark Cuban is being honest about prejudices that may very well exist inside of all of us.
Okay.
You think as black people we don't look at white folks and certain thoughts come to our mind about who they are and how they are or whatever? If somebody heard some of the thoughts that emanates from the black community, they'd consider us prejudiced and bigoted. Not racist, because racist is the connotation is that somebody is inferior to you simply because of their race, their ethnicity. And black folks we don't have the cachet to feel that way. So racism and black folks doesn't make sense, but bigotry and prejudice certainly does. And I've made that point in the past. But what Mark Cuban is highlighting is something that exist inside of all of us.
Okay.
And nobody worth their salt can dispute that.
Okay.
Donald Sterling sat up there and talked about your house, your cars, the clothes that you wear. Would you have that if it were not for me? I mean, this man sounded straight off the plantation. There is a difference. And so anybody that tries to compare Mark Cuban's comments to that of Donald Sterling, they're just misinformed. I don't have time to talk to those people,
right.
okay? But in the end, But in the end, Skip, what it comes down to, like you said, you're talking about what owners may feel, the slippery slope.
Yeah.
Of course, that Billionaires Boys Club, they have their thoughts and their opinions. And it's not something that we would all like or appreciate. And you best believe that stuff came across when they were sitting across from the negotiating table with NBA players who they believe you wouldn't be making this money if it were not for us. But at the same time, it's one thing to think it and suspect it and believe it.
Okay.
It's another thing for you to be slapped in the face with the reality because an audio tape is out highlighting exactly what you feel.
Okay. Were you at all surprised by what Chris Carter said on Mike and Mike?
No, but I think that in this particular instance, I don't agree with Chris Carter. And that's my man. I love him. We talk all the time. And I'm quite sure we're going to talk after he realizes that I disagree with him. But I think what Chris Carter is leaning on was the comment about the hoodie and walking across the street. I don't think that he's taking into account the other side when Mark Cuban said, if you're a white guy with tats all over your face and your head, I'd walk back to the other side of the street.
Okay.
Mark Cuban was simply highlighting the prejudices that exist across the spectrum, not highlighted and designated specifically for the black community. That's the difference.
Okay, I'm with you on this. And again, I have obviously never walked in Chris Carter's shoes, so I respect his opinion on his personal opinion.
So do
but
I.
you know how I feel about that word. How many times on this show I'm talking about the N-word spoken by a white person to a black person, ending with a hard E-R. That word is the most evil word in our language. That's a fighting word to me. So the whole concept of a white man calling a black man that word, and that being a lesser offense than a white man making eye contact with a black man coming toward him and cutting across the street, it just seems to me, from my vantage point, like, wow, really? It would seem like the other would be much worse, but that's just me.
Well, let me say this, and this is coming from I'm the black dude on the show, Skip.
Yep.
And in the end, as offensive as I may find that word, as you would say, with the hard ER, even though it doesn't really matter. If that word came at me from a white person, I'm very, very offended. I do want to beat them down. There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
But I can tell you right now, I can accept that with a smile on my face compared to what I heard come out of Donald Sterling's mouth. What I heard from Donald Sterling, made me feel like he believes, you know, like it's almost like the Clippers is another form of a cotton field.
Okay.
That's how the words coming from Donald Sterling hit me.
Okay.
No N-word spewing out of anybody's mouth can make me feel like that.
Okay. Even though, point of order, even in the privately, illegally recorded tape, we did not hear Sterling use the N-word
at all.
Right?
Yeah.
So just point of order. Okay.
Right.
I'm with you, though. I get it.